Hey there guys, welcome back to Course Integrity. Today we are going to create a UI for gaming gear shop in Android Studio. I have already created the UI for this application in Adobe XD. So we are just going to recreate the same UI in Android Studio. If you want to see how I have created that UI in Adobe XD, then for that I have already mentioned a link down below in the description box. So you can go and check it out. Now, let's get started with today's video. So, here is the Adobe XD design which we are going to recreate in Android Studio. So, before actually starting with Android Studio, first let's export all the images and the assets which we are going to need while designing our application. So, let's first select the images you want to export and let's check are they marked for export or not, and then click Ctrl E from your keyboard. Format will be PNG and export for Android. Select the export location and click on export. Similarly, for the icons and other assets, select the assets you want to export. So let's select the icons along with these rectangles which we will be needing while designing our application. So select all the rectangles and the icons and click the Ctrl E from your keyboard. Format will be SVG and select the export location and again click on the export. Once we are done with exporting our icons, go to the Android Studio and create your Android Studio project. Start a new Android Studio project. Select the empty activity and let's give our application a name. Say Gaming Gear Shop and click on Finish. Once our project is loaded, let's import all the assets and images which we have exported from the Adobe XD design. So let's go to the export location and let's first choose the 6 Android files for the images we have exported. Copy this file and let's paste it into our project file. So go to the C drive, inside the user, go to the Android Studio project and go to the project file you have created, and inside the application in SRC, in main file, resource file, inside that paste all the 6 files of your images. Now to import the remaining assets which are the SVG files, go to the Android Studio project. Let's change the project view to project. And inside the app, in SRC, in main and in resources, right click on the drawable, create the new vector asset. Let's choose the local file and from the location we have exported our assets. Select the assets one by one and click on the next and finish. So using the similar way, let's import all the assets which we are going to need while designing our application. After importing all the assets, as you can see in Adobe XD we have used different fonts. So to add these fonts inside our Android Studio, we need to download these fonts from the Google Fonts. So I have already downloaded these fonts and let's import these fonts into our Android Studio project. So select the fonts you want to import and say copy, and inside the Android Studio right click on the resources and create new Android resource directory. Resource type will be font and the directory name will be font, and click on OK. Now inside this font directory, let's paste font files which we have copied and say OK. So to use these fonts into our Android Studio project, we need to create the font resource file for these fonts. So right click on this font directory and create new font resource file. Give it a name, say fonts, and click on OK. Inside this fonts.xml, let's add the fonts which we have added into the directory. And the another one. As we are done with importing our fonts, as you can see in Adobe XD we have used different colors like white colors for the fonts, then the blue color for this price tag. Similarly, we have used the black color for the background, and again here for this text we have used the gray color. So we will be needing all these colors. So for that, into the Android Studio project, go to the values, and inside values open the colors.xml. Here we will add the colors which we will be needing while designing our application. So let's add the color name, say white, and add the hex code for the white color. Similarly for black color. Then also we are going to need the blue color. So for the blue color, let's copy the code. So select this text, and from here copy the code for the blue color and paste it over here. Similarly for the gray color, copy the code and paste it. Now we have also added the colors. So let's start with designing our application. Let's change the preview to the Pixel 3 XL, and as you can see, the background color for our frame is the black color. So let's add the background over here, say black color from the color. Now we don't need this text view, so just delete it. Okay, so as you can see here, this rectangle is also the part of the background of this frame. So let's add that rectangle inside our design first. So for that, let's take the image view, say wrap content by wrap content, and let's add that rectangle, and let's add the constraint to this rectangle. And let's add the margins. Set the vertical bias to 0 and the horizontal bias to 100. Let's add the top margin 10 and the right hand side margin 10 again. Now in Adobe XD we have added this menu icon over here. So to add the menu icon, let's again take the image view and let's add the menu icon, add the constraints to it. Right hand side constraint will be this rectangle which we have added, and let's add the attributes. So vertical and horizontal bias will be 0, top margin will be 35 and left hand side margin will be 30. Good. Now we will be adding this to text. So let's add the text view. Say wrap content by wrap content, and text will be featured. Add the text color, which will be white. The font size is 29. So let's add the text size. Say 29 SP. Remember, the text size always be in SP format. And let's add the font family and add the constraints. So for this text view, top constraint will be this icon. The top margin will be 50. And the right hand side margin will be 35. Likewise. Now let's add the another text view for this products text. So in the similar way, add the text, text size will be 50 dp. Now here we have different menus option. So for that we need to add these rectangles first, and inside these rectangles we will be adding these icons. So let's first take the rectangles. For that, again take the image view, add the rectangle, and let's add the constraints. Top margin will be 50. Left hand side margin will be say 15. Then let's add the icon, which is the tune icon. Let's add the constraint to this icon inside this rectangle. In similar way, so again take the image view, add the icon, which is the controller, and let's place it inside this rectangle. In similar way, let's add these two menu options. For the last rectangle, make the horizontal bias to 100 and add the right hand side value 15 and top margin will be 50. Let's change the right hand side margin for this colored rectangle from 15 to say 25, and also for this rectangle 15 to 25. And let's add the icon. Okay, now I have created these two frames inside the Adobe XD. So while running the output, I want to scroll these items in a horizontal way. So to create this type of animation inside the Android Studio, we will be adding the recycler view, in which we will be adding these items inside the recycler view. So to create the recycler view inside our Android Studio, first we need to download the recycler view from the design section. So go to the design section and from the palette, search for the recycler view and download the recycler view. Click on OK. And once the downloaded is completed, we can add the recycler view. So for recycler view, choose the recycler view.widget and let's add the recycler view of say 400 dp by 300 dp. And let's add the constraints and let's make the vertical bias to 10. Now inside this recycler view, we will add these item views with the image and this two text as the information of the controller and this background. So for that, first we will create the custom view with all these items and then we will add that custom layout inside our recycler view. So to create the custom layout, right click on the layout and create new layout resource file. Give your file a name, say custom layout and click on OK. So let's first delete this. And let's add the relative layout. And inside this layout, let's add the background, which will be this rectangle. So let's add the background, which will be the controller background. And the width of this rectangle is 220 by 288. Now inside this relative layout on this background, let's add this image and this text. So let's take the image view, place it properly along with the constraints. Now similarly, take a text view and let's add the first title, which is dual sense with the text size 25. Now the same way, let's add the another text view, which will be the color of this controller. So and done. So as we have done with creating our custom layout, so this is the default one. So for that we will be adding the code inside the main activity.kt, but we will add that code later. First we will complete our designing and then afterwards we will add the code for that. So once we are done with the recycler view, we need to add these rectangles with these icons. So for that, let's first take this rectangle. So let's add the rectangle, and inside this rectangle there is this another colored rectangle, which is the home button. So let's add that too. So again, take the image view, and the attributes. The horizontal bias will be 0, and let's add the left hand side margin, set 10, and make the vertical bias to say 45. Okay, inside this rectangle we will be adding the home icon, and let's add the text view with the text home. Okay, now let's add these three icons. For that, take the image view again. First one is the user icon. Let's place it inside this rectangle. In the similar way, let's add the another two icons. And yeah, we are all done with the first activity. So as you can see in Adobe XD, we are done with these two frames. So now we will be creating this second one. So for that, let's create the another new activity. So right click on the layout, create new activity, and select the empty activity. Give your activity a name, say controller 1, and click on finish. And similar to our activity name, add the background, say black. Okay, so for this frame we need to add this rectangle, which is the background rectangle. So let's take the image view and let's add that rectangle, and let's add the constraints. And over this rectangle here, as you can see, we have added this image of the controller. So let's add the image, add the constraints. Good. Now let's add this title and the color version for our controller. So let's take the text view. Let's add the title into our string.xml file. So let's add the string, and also we will add the color versions of our controllers, white and black version. Similarly for controller 2, black and black version, and for the third controller, red and black version. So into controller 1 activity, text will be title. Add the margins, say 20 will be the top margin, and right hand side margin will be 35. Similarly, let's add the color version. Now we will be adding the platform for our controller and the release date. So for that, we'll be adding these assets which we have exported from this design. So first let's take the image view. Then add the platform. For that, add the text view. And add the platform which is PS5. So take the text view again and add the platform which is the PS5. And let's place this text, and let's place both of this text properly. So select this text and in the same way let's add the release date. Okay. Now we will be creating this option to jump on the controller with the different colored version. So for that, let's take this vertical rectangle, and inside that let's place these other rectangles and the images of the controller. So let's add the rectangle. For that, take the image view and take the vertical rectangle, and inside this rectangle we will add the another rectangles. So first one is the colored rectangle, and let's place it inside this rectangle. Similar way, add the another rectangle, and the another one. Now inside this rectangle we will be placing the images of the controllers. So let's place the images of the controller inside this rectangle. Change the size of the image to 60 dp by 40 dp. And let's add the constraints. Similarly, add the other images of the controller inside this rectangle. Okay. Now we will be adding this paragraph, which is the information about this controller. So let's copy the text from here, and let's open the string.xml, and inside that let's paste this string with the name, say, info. And inside this controller, let's add the text view with width, say, 220, and add the text which is the info. Let's change the width to 250 and add the constraints. Now we will be adding this pre-order button and the price for our controller. So for that, let's go to the strings.xml and add the different price tags. So add the string, say, price 1, which is PC1, and let's add the price, say, $50. The second price will be, say, $70, and the third price will be, say, $100. Now go to the activity.controller. First add this rectangle, and inside that rectangle let's first add this price. So first take the image view and add the rectangle. Now inside this rectangle let's add the text view again, and text will be the $sign. The size for this $sign is 28 and it is bold, and the color is blue. And now let's add the first price for our controller. And add the margins. So first change the vertical bias to 45 again, and the horizontal bias to, say, 5. Now let's add the pre-order button. For that, take the image view and let's add the rectangle. Now inside this pre-order rectangle let's add the text, which is pre-order, and let's add this arrow, which is the right side arrow, and also we will be adding this left side arrow as a back button over here. So let's add the arrow. For that, take the image view, and let's add left side arrow for the back button. Cool. Now we are done with our controller 1. Now for another 2 controllers, we will copy this whole code and let's create the another activity. So right click on the layout, create new activity, select the empty activity, say controller 2 and finish. And for that, let's paste the whole code. Now as you can see, for controller 2, the controller 2 image is the black and black version of the controller, and the selected rectangle is over here as the black and black version is selected. So for that, let's change this image from image 1 to image 2, which is our black and black version of controller. And let's change this colored rectangle, which is the selected rectangle, from selected rectangle to the black rectangle. And for this, let's change this black rectangle to selected rectangle. Now similarly for controller 3, copy the whole code and right click on the layout, create new activity, select the empty activity, say controller 3 and finish. Paste the code, change the image from image 2 to say image 3, and let's make this selected rectangle to black rectangle and change this black rectangle to the selected rectangle. Also change this price for this controller, so the price will be PC3, and for controller 2 price will be PC2.
And yeah, we are all done with our XML designs. So in next coming video, we will be adding the items inside the recycler view which we have created, and also we will be adding some cool looking animation to our design. So for that, keep watching and see you in the next video.